Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we're bringing you our top 8 favorite gateway games. Games that you can use to introduce people to the hobby, or if you are just now getting into the hobby, games that you could try out that will not be super complex, but will still give you a really good feel for where this hobby could take you, or maybe even these are going to be the weight of games, weight in terms of complexity, that you actually enjoy. And this ends up being the sweet spot for you. And so these will be some great games for you to just introduce yourself to in general. I do want to mention our sponsor, Board Game Co. This is a fantastic website, speaking of picking up new games, that you can go to and buy games or trade games with them, and you can even sell games over there as well. They have a whole system set up, a value system for various games. They can link into your Board Game Geek account if you have an account over there at that website, and see what's on your wish list and what you own that they want, all that kind of stuff. It's a really interesting and useful tool over there. Board Game Co. is a great place to buy, sell, and trade your way into a better collection. Now, I do want to mention that the idea for this video came from the Dice Tower, actually, over on the Dice Towers podcast. If you've never listened to it before, you should, for one thing, you definitely go check it out. But every other week they have a top 10 list that they do. It's all kinds of different subjects. They're actually doing, the alphabet, so top 10 games that start with letter A, all this kind of stuff. They just did the letter I the last time they had a top 10 list. But the upcoming, which I believe is this week actually, the upcoming top 10 list though that they'll be doing in 2 weeks is the top 10 gateway games. And so I, went over there and started building my list because they had the People's Choice on those podcasts. And as I was building my list, I thought, you know what, I've never put this list on my channel before. I've been doing this for 5 years, never done a gateway list. So as I built it, I started looking at it. I was like, hey, this is actually a pretty decent list here. I'm going to make a video for it as well. So I am going to put a link in the description below to get you over to the Dice Towers YouTube channel if you've never seen that before, which if you found me, I'm positive you've seen the Dice Tower before. But like I said, that link will be down there below. And also, if I can link to their podcast somehow, I'll try to do that as well. I'm not sure if I can, but just go search it out on iTunes or whatever podcast service you use. And again, if you go to their website, that's where you can vote for the People's Choice version of their top 10 list that they do every other week. Also, while you're watching this, if you see anything in this video, any games in this video that you think are right for you, be sure to check the description below for a way to purchase those games. If you click on the link in the description below, just a small amount of that purchase will go to the channel as well, and we really appreciate that. All right, so here we go. We're going to get this list started. We're going to take 8 minutes to tell you what my top 8 games are for gateway games, starting right now. All right, so number 8 is Century Spice Road. Century Spice Road is a game where basically there's 4 different colored cubes that all represent 4 different types of spices, and you're going to be trading those cubes up into more valuable cubes, or sometimes trade them back down to get more of a less valuable cube. And the whole idea is you're trying to complete orders, I believe is what the cards are called. But basically, you have cards that say, hey, you need to collect these type of cubes. And when you do, you get victory points. And at the end of the game, the person with the most victory points wins. This is a very easy game to get into, but really has a lot to think about when you're trying to decide, okay, which of the available cards is the order that I'm going to be going for? What's the best way, most efficient way that I can trade my way into having the cards or the cubes that I need to complete that order? That's Century Spice Road. Number 7 is The Mind. Now, The Mind is just a deck of cards, basically, with a few extra cards thrown in that represent your lives, and some ninja stars that represent the ability to kind of move through a level a little bit easier. The whole idea here is no one can speak. Everybody has a hand of cards. Nobody can speak. And the cards are just numbered 1 through 100. And you're trying to lay those cards down in order from 1 to 100. Now, when you start the first round, everybody only has 1 card. So should be relatively easy. You know, if you've got a lower number, a 3 or a 4, you're going to play that out real fast because chances are nobody else has a number below that. And then, you know, maybe the next person has a 20, the next person has a 50, the next person has a 75. That's going to be relatively easy. But as you play every level, you're going to have an additional card in your hand. So the next time you have 2, the next time you have 3. Based on the number of players, you go up to a certain level, and if you beat that level, you win, but you only have a certain number of lives, and every time you play a card out of order, you lose a life. And remember, you can't speak at all. The mind is pretty cool. Number 6 is CVlizations. Hate the name. It's an okay name. It's a pretty cool name. But CVlizations is basically, it's like a spin-off of the original game CV, except in this one you are building up a civilization. Now it's very abstracted and it's really tongue-in-cheek, but it's got some pretty hilarious artwork. It's a lot of fun though, and it's very, very easy to understand and get into. My oldest daughter loves this game. My wife really enjoys the game. You know, we've played a lot of 3-player games of this. It is you know, you go through 3 different ages, I believe is what they're called, and each time, you know, different technology cards come out, and, you know, different philosophies and religions and government types, and you're spending resources to collect all those, and of course, in the end, the person with the most victory points, I believe, is how that one ends. Victory points wins the game. Number 5 is King Domino. Now, this is a game where basically you are building a small little kingdom out of dominoes, except the dominoes don't have the normal pips that you see on dominoes. Instead, there are various types of terrain. You've got swamps and lakes and farmland, I believe, and mountains, that sort of thing, mines, and you are trying to connect. Basically, the larger an area of the same type of terrain that you connect, the more points you get. But also, there's crowns on the terrain, little crowns, and those crowns are multipliers, and you know, so they increase your score even more. This game goes up to 4 people. Super simple rules. They have a couple of extra added rules that you can throw in there for a little bit more advanced strategic game. But it is just a super easy and really, really colorful game to get into. That's King Domino. Number 4 is Pandemic. Now, this is probably the most complicated game on this list, but it is a cooperative game, so that allows everybody to work together. You can have one person who knows how to play the game, and they're able to kind of guide everybody along. There are 4 diseases that are rampaging through the world. Everybody plays a different member of the equivalent of the CDC, and you know, maybe you're a scientist or a researcher or a quarantine specialist, even though I think that's from an expansion. But what you're doing is trying to find cures for the diseases. If you find a cure for each of the 4 diseases, you win the game. Along the way, you might manage to also eradicate a disease, but you're going to be watching out for outbreaks where the diseases, you know, if a disease becomes too prevalent in one city, it's going to then have an outbreak and spread to all the connected cities as well. After a certain number of outbreaks, you lose the game. You have all the cubes for a particular disease end up on the board, you lose the game. If you run out of this deck that you have to draw from, you lose the game. Lots of ways to lose, only one way to win: cure all the diseases. That's Pandemic. Number 3 is Flashpoint Fire Rescue. Honestly, has a little bit of a similar feel to Pandemic. I think it's a little less complex, especially if you play with the initial intro rules. It does have a more complex set of rules, but because it provides that intro set of rules, it's a very, very good introductory game. Gateway game. Also, it is cooperative, just like Pandemic, and you are firemen going into a burning building. You're trying to rescue people, and I think there's some animals in there too, maybe. But you're going into the building, putting out fires, but putting out fires is only going to get you so far because the fire is spreading so rapidly that really that's more of a band-aid. And what you really need to do is get rescue these people from this burning building, get them to safety. You know, sometimes you'll have to deal with, you know, a backdraft, an explosion, all this kind of stuff. Pretty thematic fireman game. You don't have a whole lot of firefighter games out there. So that is Flashpoint Fire Rescue. Number 2 is Sushi Go. This is a card drafting game, which basically means you're going to have a certain number of cards in your hand, and you pick one, put it down, pass that hand of cards to the next person, and take the other person's hand of cards from over here, and then again pick a card, put it down. Keep doing that until you have played all the cards that are available. and you're going to be scoring points based on the sets you collect. And Sushi Go has this sushi theme on top of it, so you're collecting maki rolls and nigiri and all kinds of stuff like that, wasabi. And it is one that my wife and my oldest and I have just played time and time and time again. We were just talking about it yesterday. You need to get it back out, play it some more. That's Sushi Go. And finally, my last one on the list is Azul. Azul is a game where you have these beautiful tiles that are like ceramic tiles that you put out in this common area, and when you pick a tile, you have to pick only one color. There's like 5 different colors, I think, and they're placed randomly out, and you pick one color from that group, and if there's all 4 of them are the same color, then take all of them. If only one of them is the color you want, then the other 3 go into the center of the table. And you keep picking, you're putting them on this board, and you're trying to connect them, because the more connected they get, the more points you get every time you place a new one. And then there's additional ways to score points as well, like completing vertical rows and getting all 5 possible of one color onto your board, and lots of ways like that. And then the game ends when one person has completed a horizontal row, and then the person with the most victory points wins the game. Azul is a very, very cool game. You're pulling tiles out of this bag to set up each round. Just so much fun. That is Azul, and that is my number 1 best gateway game. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. You can check in the description below for ways to purchase games that are listed in this video, and if you do it with the link provided, just a small amount of that will go to the channel as well. Be sure to check out our Patreon, and until next time, if you're bored online, board offline.